Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. Let's jump right into this intro.
Because if it was not for independent journalism, we would be in a pickle. We would be in a really bad state because a lot of people got duped by the pharmacological industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, the military industrial complex. They've been duped by so many different companies and corporations that have a vested interest in getting one narrative out. And if you can get that narrative out through the traditional pipelines of mainstream media with no one fact-checking, no one interfering, no independent journalist saying, actually, that's not true at all. Here's why they did that. This was the influence. Here's where the money is. We have emails. We can show you they were influenced. If it wasn't for them, we would be fucked. And it's one of the beautiful things about the internet today. The internet today allows people like that to thrive because these mainstream media corporations are so corrupt. They're so obviously indebted to the companies that pay for their advertising.
100%. Joe Rogan hits the nail on the head, and that is what we are talking about today. Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson sounding off on the mainstream media. I got a bunch of Joe Rogan clips. I got a bunch of Tucker Carlson clips. We're going to end it off with Tucker Carlson's most recent rant. I believe this was when he was with Don Jr. It might have been at the RNC, but his most recent rant that a lot of people didn't get a hold of because it wasn't pushed on Tucker Carlson's main channel or anything like that, or Don Jr.'s. So let's just get right into it, because what these people are doing ever since I started this channel, I always thought, well, the mainstream media, they try to play at your emotions. That's how far I thought. I knew about Project Mockingbird, but I just thought they're really trying to play at your emotions. They're just really trying to convince you of something. And it's so far beyond that. It's so much more unhinged than that. I mean, just discovering Joy Reid, Joe Scarborough, Keith Olbermann, Erin Burnett as well. I don't know if you know her. She's from CNN. Don Lemon, just seeing them mask off, no pun intended, back, 4 years ago, how they all were. Oh my gosh. Chris Cuomo, it's just gross. Let's get into the Joe Rogan stuff first, then we're going to jump over to Tucker.
And this is a real problem. But
of course I have it that fast. Slow it down, man. I don't know why I don't do this beforehand.
The difference between real journalism and corporate-sponsored mainstream journalism is huge. We used to have real journalism where people would do investigative journalism and get to the heart of things, find out what the problem is, post these things, then everyone would know, oh, this has been exposed. Mm-hmm. But now you have places like the New York Times that are involved in propaganda. The people that we've always trusted, they'll bull. Washington Post will bull. MSNBC is a pure propaganda network. CNN is largely propaganda. They like. When the Archer testimony the other day that you were talking about, who's covering that? Mm-hmm. Who's covering that?
Yeah.
Who's covering this groundbreaking thing where it's like, holy shit.
And did you see what they said?
What they said?
They said, there's no such thing as the 20 conversations were really about, President Biden was asking about how the weather was. That's actually what they said. They said they were wondering how the weather was, and the fact that he was asking about his oldest son, and they were having conversations about that. The level of deflection, and the guy's like, no, 20 times we had a call, and he knew we had business dealings.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty obvious. You just look at the amount of money that kid generated.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get all that money? Like, what was the qualifications for him? That alone.
You talking about Hunter?
Yeah, just that alone.
He's a world-renowned artist, though. I mean,
what do you think that was? When they were selling those paintings for like $500,000, is that money laundering? Like, what is that?
Show.
Yeah.
Come on, Joe.
I mean, at first I thought it was psychos that thought it'd be funny to own a Hunter Biden painting. And then I thought, like, maybe there's like deals.
Fauci.
Maybe. You never know. But Hunter is a great artist. You listen. Come on. You would pay $200,000 to $700,000 for a Hunter Biden painting. No, am I the only one? Am I the only one that would pay the price of a house for a painting done by Hunter Biden? No, I can't be the only one. Absolutely ridiculous. And that was actually a case that I forgot about. That person who was Hunter's business partner testifying, actually just putting it all out there, and nobody has talked about that since. It's gone away. And it kind of actually attaches itself to, when you think about it, you know, there's a whole speculation of what happened to make Joe Biden actually drop out of the presidential race. It's probably things like that. It's like, listen, Joe, that can come back. I mean, look at Trump. Look how many things jumped back out at Trump when he decided to run. If he didn't run, all those cases that came up with Trump wouldn't exist. They wouldn't be doing all that. So if Biden didn't drop out, maybe all of a sudden it'd be like this case, this case, this case, this case. And then it becomes, what do you want your legacy to look like? You know, you want it to be mumbling and ice cream, or do you want it to get real serious? You know, I'd rather my legacy be mumbling and ice cream. I gotta be honest with you guys. You know, let's get into the next clip.
CNN lost all their big hosts. It's like they lost,
and they lost their streaming service.
Yeah, well, that was hilarious. They dumped money into something to get people to pay for something that no one wants for free.
Yeah,
and it was like Anderson Cooper's book club. Like, what the f are you doing? if I was a shareholder in CNN,
how much? Only $10 a month? Okay,
yeah. I was like, what the f are you guys doing? Do you really think anybody's gonna pay for CNN? Like,
no.
What are you offering?
Nobody watches now that Trump's not.
No.
I mean, the numbers they get are so small. That's why, you know, it's platforms like this that are actually bringing the information that people want to watch, instead of watching the news like people used to trust in. Yeah, there's 6 o'clock nightly news, and I'm going to get this story. You know, there's no more Walter Cronkites out there.
Right.
It's long form conversations that are actually informing people on what's going on.
It's that, and it's people steering you to legitimate journalists that are independent. The Michael Schellenbergers, the Glenn Greenwalds, the people that are experts in their field, the Brett Weinsteins, the people that actually know what they're talking about. But it's just a weird landscape that we're in now that didn't exist before, where we're absolutely sure that you can't trust the mainstream media anymore. We're absolutely sure of that. And even boomers know that now. Even the people that have been trusting the mainstream media their whole life, they're like, well, definitely something's wrong. They don't know what it is, but something's wrong.
Pfizer.
Yeah. Oh, those are amazing. Those compilations.
Man, that is so. There is nothing sadder than when someone who's older just fully believes the mainstream news. There is nothing sadder than that moment when you realize somebody is just giving you talking points that Rachel Maddow said. It is so sad. So sad. And a second to that sadness is when somebody's young, when someone's 19 and they're like, well, I heard that. What do you mean? There was this Russian collusion, and they're like saying it like they're smart. They're like, I listened to the news. And it's like, oh, man. Oh, buddy. I'm going to start you at Bohemian Grove, okay? And we're going to build up to the Russian collusion, okay? We're going to take it real slow with you. You know what? I'm going to start you at Project Mockingbird. Then we're going to go Bohemian Grove. And we're going to build our way up. There's a whole iceberg of things I got to show you right now. It's so sad, but you can do that with the younger person. They'll be like, whoa, because they know how to use the internet. They know how to get in there. Older person, you can't do that. You can't tell them, hey, you need to get an account on X, and you need to follow these people, and you need to, follow these people on YouTube. You can't do that with them. They're like, what are you talking about? I just want the convenience. What do you mean? One channel. I've been watching one channel for 40 years. You're telling me there's more channels? And then you don't want to blow their mind like that. So you just leave them to it. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, let's move on. Also, just to say, he's like, there's no more Walter Cronkites. It's sad to learn, but I won't say none of them. I don't want a blanket statement and say none of them were honest. But, Tucker Carlson verified. He was on an interview with Adam Carolla, and they were talking about trust in the mainstream media and where they get their talking points from. And he alluded to the fact that he's like, yes, even someone like Wolf Blitzer gets their talking points from, and then he said a certain agency. And I was like, wow. And Tucker's like, I know this for a fact. He's like, I worked there. He's like, I was a part of this. I've been a part of this for the longest time. It's a wild thing. So, it becomes sad when you start realizing there's no one to look up to. Have you felt that yet? You feel like there's no one. Whereas like when you're younger, you're like, wow. And then, you know, it's like you're at this time, 2024, and you hear about all of the weird blackmail stuff going on, and you're just like, is there anyone not involved? Is there anyone not involved? It's just, man. Anyway, next clip.
Next time.
Well, the big loser in this, besides the people that lost their jobs and their businesses closed and people lost their lives, the big loser has been mainstream media, because the trust in mainstream media is at an all-time low. I mean, they are laying off journalists left and right. No one wants to read the newspaper anymore. No one believes them. CNN lost all their big hosts. It's like they lost.
And they do next time.
Well, the big loser in...
They did lose. They're losing so bad, especially one big nail in the coffin. I'm going to jump right over this clip. One nail in the coffin was definitely Tucker Carlson. When that whole thing happened with Tucker, people were just like, what's going on? What happened? What happened? And then all of a sudden Tucker can't talk, and then he's getting sued, and then there's a lawsuit, and then he comes back and he's just in 100 million views, and it's just been a steamroller ever since. And you're just like, there's no comparison. It's wild to live in a reality where somebody thinks Joy Reid is a real journalist and Tucker Carlson is not. It's so sad to see that. When I saw Jon Stewart peddling, and I've seen it multiple times now, go check it out. You have to watch a lot of mainstream media, though. It's going to be sad for you. But when you see Jon Stewart peddling out the same talking points as MSNBC and CNN, it's just like, oh, God. Oh, God. And they're all saying Tucker Carlson's not a journalist while he's doing journalism, trying to get the public to not have faith in actual journalism and to get you to believe that they are the real journalists. Next clip.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. There's an amazing amount of resistance against him. And, you know, there's just the publicity campaign against him has been fascinating to watch. People go from thinking that Elon Musk is the savior that's bringing us these amazing electric cars and engineering new reusable rockets to he's an alt-right piece of shit who wants Donald Trump back in the office. And it's like, it's very wild.
The speed with which they can sort of shuffle somebody into the Hitler of the Month Club routine, right? Like, you know, we've always done this with foreigners, you know, whether it's Noriega or Saddam Hussein or Milosevic or Assad or whatever it is. Like, we have a playbook for cranking out negative information about, you know, foreigners who get in our way for whatever reason. But now we've kind of refined that technique for domestic people who are inconvenient. You know, I think they did it with Trump, obviously. You know, they try to do it with Tucker Carlson, with you. You know, I mean, you got a taste of that for a few times.
Yeah, it's interesting,
right? And then, you know, with Elon, he went from being the guy who made electric cars sexy to, like, you know, something to the right of Viktor Orban in like 10 seconds. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And the narrative is spread through progressive people. Well, they'll just say it now. It's like they've reached the memo. The memo's got to them. And then I hear people in LA, I hear people that I know, like, oh, Elon's just so crazy. It's like something happened to him. He went nuts and he's a right-winger now. Like, how? What are you saying? Like, what examples do you have? Like, they don't have an example. They just have this narrative that reached them, the signal. Like, Elon bad now. Oh, right. Elon bad now. Elon bad now. Elon bad now.
It's very true. 100%. And I think we've all seen it. We've seen it with Trump. We definitely saw it with Trump. We saw it with Trump, and also, so oddly, saw it with Biden as well. He went from sharp as, like, people literally have video clips of Joe Scarborough. I even played a bunch of them. Joe Scarborough saying this guy's the best he's ever been. He's cogent, and F you if you can't handle that truth. So literally the next week, he's like, we got to think about if this is a person that we want running, you know, if he was the CEO of a company, would we have him run the company? And you're like, you go from Joy Reid. Joy Reid's just like, I'll vote for Biden in a coma, to all of a sudden, like, he's too old. What's going on with him? And you're like, what is going on right now? On the drop of a dime, they did that to him. They just turned on him. Van Jones is like, a bullet couldn't stop Trump, and a virus stopped Biden. And you're like, what? What's going on? And now Kamala Harris stepped in. They're all just like, who's Joe Biden? I don't know. I've never heard of him. Who's Joe Biden? I've never heard of that person. There's a person making history. She's Kamala Harris. She's the greatest thing ever. She's black too now. Yeah, it's great. It's like, what? What just happened? It's so crazy. It's so crazy, man. Let's jump over to the next clip. A little joining of the two. We're moving on to Tucker Carlson here. Let's go.
What's interesting is that there are people saying that now. And I think that's a relatively new thing in terms of mainstream media. And I consider what you do on X mainstream media. I mean, this is what we're on right now is essentially mainstream media. It used to be, you could call it, there's corporate controlled media.
I agree.
And that used to be mainstream media. Mainstream media used to be CNN. It's not really anymore. Mainstream media is what, in terms of the volume consumed, more people are consuming things on Twitter, on X, than there are on anything else. They're consuming information through the internet, through YouTube, for good or for bad, whether it's correct or incorrect. They're consuming information in different forms now than ever before. So more people are saying what you're saying than have ever said it before. And when people lie and when people bullshit and gaslight, it's more offensive now than it's ever been before because there's so much access to truth. That it's just, you could see it now. If you're paying attention, if you're not a boomer who only reads the newspaper, you pay attention and you see it and you go, this is horse.
But it's like, I guess what bothers me is that the lies aren't sophisticated.
No.
I mean, I look back over my now sort of long life and I'm recognizing all the times that I was lied to, but, I didn't know I was being lied to. They kind of pulled it off. Mm-hmm. There's something incredibly insulting and demeaning to tell me a lie when I know it's a lie, and I know it's a lie. We both know it's a lie, but you're demanding that I pretend to believe it?
Right.
What you're really saying is, I have no respect for you. You're like my dog.
Right.
You're a slave. Like, I'm demanding that you participate in my lie.
Right.
The lack of stealth, really, I'm not explaining it very well, but that really bothers me a lot.
Well, there's no real other way to lie.
The lack of stealth. That's exactly what I was just talking about. It's so odd. And it's like they don't care. It's like they just don't care. They're like, who's gonna stop us? We're all doing this. We're all doing it together. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And also it's like whatever platform you're on, there's an on and off switch, buddy. You have anything to say on off? Jesus. It's like every 4 months I get shut off. And they're just like, I don't know, your subscribers. I don't know. And people are like, I'm getting unsubscribed. I'm not even going to get into that part. Not make it about me. But it's very obvious what's going on. And it's as if there's just zero caring. That's why it was so interesting to see Chris Cuomo talk with Patrick Bet-David or do that debate with Dave Smith. And he's like, I never said that. I didn't say that. And then they have a clip of him saying it. And he's like, listen, the only reason... It's like, do you not have any shame? Like, if that was a regular person and they said, I didn't say that, and then somebody said, roll the clip, they would instantly start laughing. They'd be like, you got me. You got me. That's funny. You got me. Him, nothing. Exactly what Tucker Carlson said about Gavin Newsom. That guy, most of these people in mainstream media, their blood pressure, their pulse doesn't change when they lie. They don't itch. They don't jitter. They don't nothing. They don't get all tense. Nothing. They every day sit and just lie. They could pass lie detectors if they wanted to. You could ask them, is Trump actually a Nazi? And they could be lie detector. And they'd be like, yes, wholeheartedly. Yes, he is. And they would just be like, well, it says it's true. Like that's how deep it goes with those people. Here's a little clip. There's a little clip of what I'm talking about, actually. Let's go.
Really launched his presidential run on is talking about Islamic radicalization. And this president has radicalized so many more people than ISIS ever did. I mean, the way
Donald Trump radicalized more people than ISIS did. Let's just play that back again.
One of the things that he really launched his presidential run on is talking about Islamic radicalization. And this president has radicalized so many more people than ISIS ever did. I mean, the way he talks, the way he it's the way he talks, the way that he.
A few moments later.
A little house cleaning, because for you, the Republican National Committee is jumping on your comment. You earlier in the show said that Donald Trump has radicalized more people than ISIS has. David and Mona disagreed with you strongly. Is something you wanted to clarify?
I do want to clarify. I think I spoke in the heat of the moment. This has been a very emotional and personally painful time for me. I think I exaggerated, and I apologize for that. But the point I was trying ham-fistedly to make is that it's not a coincidence that, according to the ADL, the number of anti-Semitic attacks has jumped by nearly 60% in the first year that Donald Trump was in office. And it's no coincidence because even though the main danger is homegrown right-wing extremists, as many studies have pointed out, this administration has methodically shifted resources away from monitoring those people, away from trying to control those people and keep them from committing violence. But I do apologize for that heated rhetoric.
Okay.
It was
Can we just, did you hear what she said, right? This isn't even one of the main ones, like Jake Tapper. This is not even one of the main ones. This is like a lower level one. Do you hear what she just said? Trump radicalized more people than ISIS, gets called out, then goes on to say, sorry about that. I just mean, anti-Semitism's up because of Trump. What? That was another thing that they need to call. There should be another part of this video where it says a few more moments later, and then she corrects that. And then on top of that, goes into this part of it where she says, they've just been not doing enough to control these people. And then you start to think, what are you talking about? You think there should be you think the government should be controlling these people? I don't care who it is. Because it doesn't matter who it is. It just exposes her mindset. Oh, you should be putting resources into controlling these people. What? It just shows you. Not only can you not trust them, they have the worst intentions. It's so bad. Here, let's just get into another clip. Tucker Carlson.
What was happening in my world? And I was like, who would listen to that? Who would ever listen to that? Meanwhile, not only was the media, which is a source of all of our information, degrading and becoming not only more corrupt, but more obviously corrupt, but our educational system was completely collapsed. The humanities collapsed. There's no education, none. That's not an overstatement. I have a lot of children. They have a lot of friends. I have young people who work for me. No one learns anything in college, at all. It's only in the humanities. I'm sure electrical engineering is different, veterinary school is different, but in the sort of broad middle of I'm going to take English, history, communications, media study, all this, it's all fake. And so that was happening. And what I didn't perceive is that all of that stuff was moving to podcasts. I guess because I have such a dark and pessimistic temperament, thank you, Scandinavia, I assumed that because the products that people were consuming were getting worse, that people had lost their desire for good products, I guess. I assumed that without thinking of it. But it turned out that no, they were just getting it from a different place. There's a hunger to learn. There's a hunger not to be lied to. People can tell when they don't know exactly what the truth is. I have no idea exactly what the truth is about anything. But I know the direction it's coming from, and I definitely know lying. And there's a natural human desire not to be lied to. And to, what is that? To understand things. Curiosity is a human thing. Curiosity died in the media. They're now officially opposed to curiosity. Just asking questions is a crime. In fact, it's my crime, I have noticed. Just asking questions. Oh, what? I will never be embarrassed to ask questions. Sorry, you can't make me embarrassed of asking questions.
Yeah.
My motive is irrelevant, by the way. My motive happens to be fairly pure. I am interested, but even if my motive was sinister, it doesn't change the fact of it that answering questions is never bad. Period. Whatever. But as the mainstream media, the big media companies were becoming just arms of the government and just full North Korea media landscape. No one knows anything. It's all lies. That is where we are. I can say that with great authority, having worked there my whole life. There was this incredible renaissance happening in the most unlikely of mediums, this podcast. And not just about politics, but about history. It's incredible. I mean, there's no way if you go to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut, where I went, not an impressive place. But even if you go to, I don't know, pick a school, Dartmouth.
That's right where I wanted to stop it anyway. But there you go. Tucker Carlson talking about this exact thing going on from media to the school system. It's so true. And the only reason I say it's so true right now is because I just finished doing another episode where I learned that Jordan Peterson actually lost his appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada because he was trying to fight the re-education that they were trying to put him through. So now he is subject to this re-education, and as he goes through this, it's going to set a precedent nationwide in Canada that no psychologist or doctor, anybody that's in the field that's even adjacent to what he's in, is going to stand up because they know they could be subject to this re-education. It's an indefinite amount of time. It's wild. So now in Canada, you might have some people who you'd expect to tell you the truth, who not nefariously will lie, but will be afraid to say what they truly think or what they've known for years or what they were taught before the time of cancel culture, before the time of DEI or inclusion or whatever you want to call all this nonsense that's going on. Crazy. Anyways, let's get into a little more lighter notes. Trump and Tucker.
Interesting though, because you spent a lot of your career in television.
Yeah.
You had a top show in television on NBC. But you don't feel the need now running for president to do television, obviously. Do you think television is declining?
Well, according to a poll that I guess we just saw, it just came out where it's down like 35%, but I think they were referring to cable. I think cable's down because it's lost credibility. MSNBC, or as they say, MSDNC, is so bad. It's so wrong what they write and what they do and what they say. It's fake news, as I said. I think I came up with that term. I hope I did because it's a good one. It's not tough enough anymore. It's corrupt news. Really what you do is call corrupt news.
Interesting though, because you spent a lot of...
Man, I love Trump for coming up with fake news, honestly. That opened up a lot of people's eyes. It made a lot of people laugh, but then a lot of people went, huh, wait a second.
What is the life expectancy?
Here, let me just stop that. I'm going to play this next clip. But just to touch on what Tucker said before in the other clip, people really are longing for a different format. And I've been watching this for a long time because I was one of the first people to get a hankering for that type of thing. The school system, I could not handle the school system, and I got to learn so much about life and culture and business management from listening to podcasts. Stanford has a huge line of podcasts. If you're ever interested in business, Stanford has this entrepreneurial, it's like a series where they just sit with these business titans and they just talk about their life story. It's crazy. It's wild. I remember listening to every episode. I learned so much about business. Then I went on to start my own business, and I did well just from that. I did nothing from school. I learned nothing from school. It's very odd, very, very odd. And now I do this. I mean, people want to be, they want to be told the truth. And also, I know for myself, I don't know about you, I want to hear more of what I've been thinking. And I don't mean that in the echo chamber sense. I mean that in the sense of, I want to hear two people talk about some things that I've been thinking about or that I'm, been learning about. And I want to hear through them if what I've been thinking is correct or if what I've been thinking is incorrect, or just give me a whole other thing that I can add to my knowledge set. People really want that. And also I'm starting to learn, like for myself, I want to start hearing from regular people. That's a big thing that I really want to start doing. I want to start interviewing regular people because, I listen to so much content and that's the one thing I don't hear. You hear it here and there, a conversation. Theo Vaughn interviewed a garbage man. Tucker Carlson interviewed his neighbor, but you don't hear it a lot. There should be a whole thing of people just talking to regular people. Anyway, let's get into the wrap up of this video. 2 beautiful rants from Tucker Carlson on mainstream media. Let's go.
What is the life expectancy of disinformation networks like CNN and NBC and all these organizations that spread lies against the best interests of our country?
I think it's pretty short. I don't think they have much time left. I feel sad when industries collapse. I mean, I was always rooting for the coal miners. You know what I mean? And the people who make fax machines. Like I hate change. But the collapse of the legacy media will be one of the happiest days of my life. And I say that as someone who spent his life in legacy media. I'm the son of someone who did the same, so I've been in it literally for 55 years. And I think it's not only dishonest, there are dishonest things that persist through the generations, but the peculiar combination of dishonest, preachy, stupid, and unattractive is very tough to sustain. And that's where they are. Like, there's almost nobody on any of those channels who's not stupid and a liar. There are some, like I know everybody, so there are some who got trapped there or something. You know what I mean? It's like being stuck in an elevator with people who haven't bathed and they can't get out. But most of them know exactly what they're doing, and they deserve to be punished for it through unemployment. And I think that's coming really soon, simply because nobody wants the product. Who would watch that crap? When Trump got shot the other day, I've asked everybody I've ever talked to in the last 2 weeks, where did you get your news when that happened? In the most dramatic, horrible possible thing. Trump is shot. Oh my gosh. Did anybody go to a cable news network or to a broadcast? Of course not. Of course not. Exactly. So that just tells you right there, they're done. And the last thing I'll say is, if you're no longer the source of news, the place where people go, Walter Cronkite, I want to see the moon landing, right? They're not that, demonstrably. So then what's left? Well, analysis or entertainment. Well, they're not entertaining. They're preachy and screechy and just absolutely awful and plastic and enhanced and in no sense appealing at all. There's very unattractive people with terrible personalities, and their analysis is stale.
How do you
and
really
stupid.
feel, though, Tucker?
I just couldn't have more contempt, and it's the contempt bred from familiarity. It's not like I'm guessing at this. I spent my life with these people trapped in that elevator, and I just despise them. I have no respect at all. That is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life, is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no... Yeah, I know, because you're younger and smarter, and you're like, yeah. But what if you're me and you spent your whole life in that world, and to look around and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq War. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
Well, what do you think? What is one of your biggest regrets in your career?
Oh, defending the Iraq War.
That is it?
Well, I've had a million regrets. Not being more skeptical, calling people names when I should have listened to what they were saying. Look, when someone makes a claim, there's only one question that's important at the very beginning, which is the claim true or not? So I say, you committed murder or you rigged the last election. Before you attack me as a crazy person for saying that, maybe you should explain whether you did it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for too long, I participated in the culture where I was like, anyone who thinks outside these pre-prescribed lanes is crazy, is a conspiracy theorist. And I just really regret that. I'm ashamed that I did that. And partly it was age, partly it was the world that I grew up in. So when you look at me and you're like, yeah, of course they're part of the means of control, I'm like, that's obvious to you because you're 28, but I just didn't see it at all. And I'm ashamed of that.
Isn't that what the media tries to do, though?
It's their only purpose.
Right.
They're not here to inform you. Really? Even on the big things that really matter, like the economy and war and COVID and like things that really matter that will affect you. No, their job is not to inform you. They are working for the small group of people who actually run the world. They're their servants. They're their Praetorian Guard. And we should treat them with maximum contempt because they have earned it.